It's the dawn of another new work week, and yes, we thank God for making us alive to see this week. Good morning, dear esteemed viewers, and welcome to Dawn on VOS TV, your perfect breakfast starter, the morning show where we keep you informed about current happenings in the globe, in Nigeria, and of course, here in Edo State. My name is Felicia Udeji, and we're here to ensure you have a great week by bringing you up to speed on current happenings in Nigeria, in the globe, and in Edo State. As usual, I'm never alone in the studio as I have with me my esteemed colleague who together will be keeping you informed. Jude.
I'll wake it. Good morning, Nigerians, and thanks for joining us on Dawn, VOS TV Nigeria. Yes, it's a program you wouldn't want to miss. Yes, the beautiful program. So thank you for joining us. Good morning, Felicia Udeji.
Good morning, Jude. I'm sure you had a swell weekend talking about the Valentine's
I
celebration.
was about to ask you that question.
I asked first, so you have to answer.
Anyway, I'm not a fan of Valentine because, you know, it's in this part of our world, we changed it to lover things. So I don't have a lover for now. So
Okay, so if you're watching
I
out
really
there
don't.
and you have a crush on this man seated here, so you have the right to shoot your shot right now.
Please
since
don't
he has
shoot.
declared that he doesn't have a lover. Now, speaking about lovers, you know that as at last week, CBN warned lovers against cash bouquet, and I'm sure a lot of lovers took that to heart. A lot of people who plan to use cash bouquet for a gift took that to heart. Well, we'll be kickstarting with our newspaper review and seeing the headlines making rounds across major news headlines. Newspapers, I beg your pardon. You'll want to stick around to know exactly what is going on. I mean, that's how you learn and to keep yourself safe. So we'll take a short break, and when we'll come back, we'll kickstart with our newspaper review.
don't go away. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back. It is still Dawn on VOS TV, and we'll kickstart with the Vanguard this morning, looking at the headlines making rounds in the Vanguard newspaper. The screaming headline there says, Electoral heart harmonization. Reps under pressure to abandon compulsory e-transmission of results. And it has quite a number of riders there. The first one says, empirical data guided our decisions, says Senate. Insist real-time electronic transmission of election results not practicable now. That is the Senate speaking about the Electoral Act harmonization. Now, another headline says, while most NAS members may lose seats in 2027, that is coming from Igini, the Calabar REC officer, who is saying that because of this, a lot of NAS members will lose their seats come 2027. Other headlines, El-Rufai, Ribadu, Bika over alleged importation of poisonous substance. Other headline, daily petrol imports declined by 42.2% to 24.8 million liters. And finally, federal government spends 24 billion naira, I beg your pardon, 26 billion naira on Mori-bound Ajakuta Steel Company. So we'll be moving over right now to the Guardian newspaper. Let us see the headlines making rounds in the Guardian newspaper. The big headline there says, port users pay more as NSCS recreates multiple FX regime, adds 7% margin. Afenifeni raises alarm over persistent terror attacks and abductions. CPEE decries 10 trillion yearly loss to MSMES to employee corruption, fraud. Another one says EU summit, Nigerian backs reforms, regional security measures. That particular one can be found on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. And a very interesting one, I would like to say, is this one, talking about the Kwara governor under fire for campaigning while terrorists raid his community. Kwara State governor under fire for campaigning while terrorists raid his community. And another one there says, data shows 10-year capital funding gap in health sector. And now coming over to the NLC. NLC alleges the federal government is planning to settle the boys with 3 trillion naira electricity subsidy. And I'd like us to discuss about that. NLC planning to settle, says the federal government is planning to settle the boys. And people are asking, who are the boys?
Who are the boys?
Who are the boys? Jude, who are the boys? Is it you? Is it you and... Oh, you're not a boy. So who could these boys be that the federal government are planning to settle with 3 trillion naira? Anyway, according to NLC, Gencos are the boys they are referring to. You know that the electricity workers threatened to go on strike as of last week.
Yeah.
And according to reports, the federal government of Nigeria planning to settle them with 2 trillion or 3 trillion naira so that they will not go on strike. And NLC is saying, how will you settle a sector that is not functioning, a sector that is not doing their job, where darkness has crippled the economy? Why should you settle them? Do you think federal government should actually settle them?
You see, all of this settle is what is making us go backward. Why not do the right thing? The right thing should be done.
And what's that right thing?
Yes, you put things in place that we contain all of the process, all of the issues that are even causing the agitation and aggrieve in the first place.
Not settling.
Not settling. You don't settle.
Interesting.
You don't settle. Put things in place so that we curb industrial action.
Okay.
Something is leading to industrial action.
True.
If you continue to settle, it means we'll continue to be in total power blackout.
That's true. Now let's look at this other screaming headline from the Vanguard newspaper. Reps under pressure to abandon compulsory e-transmission of results. We know that the 20-man committee put up by the Senate to harmonize the Electoral Act between the Senate version and the House of Representatives version are to meet today. And from what we know, the Senate version is actually different from the House of Representatives version. While the House of Rep okayed and approved mandatory transmission of real-time results, the Senate have put a proviso, a clause, in the transmission that when there is communicating, they're referring to technical glitches.
Yes.
So that they would use the EC8A paper.
Yes.
And the 20-man committee are meant to meet today. So a lot of persons are saying that with what is on board, being that the 20-man committee is made up of more of APC members, that they are likely to go with the Senate version.
You know, one thing I've always observed, and which a lot of critics have always said, is that we have a rubber stamp legislators. You know, we have rubber stamp legislators. They don't really act based on their own volition. They are being pushed. Do you get it?
By the ruling government?
I must tell you that even before this committee was set up, they've already been told. Some of them, they've been told on the direction they should, go to. All right?
So do you think with this, if they are to approve the Senate version, sorry to cut in, do you think that a lot of them have a chance of coming back 2027?
Of course, the chances is not really there. The chances are not there. The chances are not there because it means we'll be having free and fair elections. Elections, you know what it means. The room for them to manipulate the process will not be there. That's why you see some of them are aggrieved. They are not cool with the process. They are not cool that they want to use electronic transmission of a result from the polling unit to the IRF portal. Real-time transmission. That is why you see some of them are aggrieved.
All right. So,
yes.
A lot of them are aggrieved, but whatever it is, we await the outcome of the committee sitting today. And that's all on our newspaper review segment for today. Coming up next is our discussion segment. We're talking INEC this morning, so you want to know what exactly we are talking about INEC. Do not go anywhere. I remain Felicia Udeji.
Country people, now VOS TV Naija be the cocoa. We dey into ogbonge news, whether na political news or political rally for your party. We stand up gidigba. Not be only that one, oh, we dey cover all kinds of events: birthday party, wedding party, burial ceremony coverage, graduation ceremony. We dey even do inter-sport event coverage. We go showcase your school to many people, even if not to cover national sport. Also for your church event, anniversary, crusade or harvest, we get professionals wey sabi this work well. VOS TV, then they tested, trusted and reliable. Una fit contact us for 82 First East Circular Road, Benin City, or make una call us for this number 080-2254-7837. Make una follow us on all our social media handle. If una dey think the best, think VOS TV Naija. VOS TV Naija, the right news for all. My country people, now VOS TV Naija be the cocoa. We dey into ogbonge news, whether na political news or political rally for your party. We stand up gidigba. Not be only that one, oh, we dey cover all kinds of events: birthday party, wedding party, burial ceremony coverage, graduation ceremony. We dey even do inter-sport event coverage. We go showcase your school to many people, even if not to cover national sport. Also for your church event, anniversary, crusade or harvest, we get professionals wey sabi this work well. VOS TV, then they tested, trusted and reliable. Una fit contact us for 82 First East Circular Road, Benin City, or make una call us for this number 080-2254-7837. Make una follow us on all our social media handle. If una dey think the best, think VOS TV Naija. VOS TV Naija, the right news for all. My country people, now VOS TV Naija be the cocoa. We dey into ogbonge news, whether na political news or political rally for your party. We stand up gidigba. Not be only that one, oh, we dey cover all kinds of events: birthday party, wedding party, burial ceremony coverage, graduation ceremony. We dey even do inter-sport event coverage. We go show.
All right, thank you for staying being there on Dawn on VOS TV Naija. Welcome to the discussion segment of the program. Today we'll be taking a look at INEC. Yes, the clock is gradually ticking down to the 2027 general elections, and preparations are in top gear. Stakeholders are putting hands on deck ahead of the election. Recently, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, presented its budget proposal of 873 billion naira. This is also as the umpire has also tentatively set February 20th for the presidential election. And this date is clashing with Ramadan, the Islamic month of fasting and piety. Now, we are going to be taking a look at all of these issues. This has been raising concerns, especially among the Islamic faith. So we'll be joined here in the studio by Comrade Christopher Ojekere, the media coordinator of the African Democratic Congress in Edo State. Comrade.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for joining us once again.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have you here in our studio. So we are taking a look at INEC and the 2027 general election that is fast approaching. Now, how do you say, is INEC preparing early enough?
Yeah, they are preparing early enough because the Electoral Act says 360 days before the election, which is 1 year before the election. And they just met the mark on February 13th. So yeah, they're preparing early enough within the context of the Electoral Act, yeah.
Now let's take a look at the budget. 873 billion naira. That's about $1 trillion naira.
Yeah. So
Is this justifiable?
It certainly needs to be justified, because it's a bit premature to say it's not justifiable just now, because we have not seen them implement the budget. But whether it is bogus, huge, and overwhelming, it certainly is. We don't know whether it's because of the fall and devaluation of our naira as a result of terrible policy decisions of the APC that has floated the naira against the dollar when we are not a productive state. We have nothing to sell in the international market. So you can't trust our naira anymore, and you will not be able to tell all that is required in terms of procurement and in terms of technology. If INEC wants to be proactive, since we have not heard the last about issues of technology, they might bring such a budget anticipating that the National Assembly will do the right thing and then allow for more purchases of technological equipment or upgrading what we have. And I'll tell you why I say upgrading what we have, so that we'll be able to do a seamless election using technology. So that's why I say it's not too early. But INEC should know that we are watching them closely right now, because they have brought such a huge budget from taxpayers' money. So we are watching how that budget will be implemented and what results will come from it. I don't want to begin to second guess them like some people are doing, that think that the budget, part of it could be to, in the Nigerian context, settle the legislature, who are the committee in charge of INEC, and serving also, as some people are also saying, in quote, as part of the payoff, if not the payoff for the INEC chairman. These are all speculations. Within the purview analysis of facts, let us say that we are waiting to see how this budget is going to be implemented, because such a huge budget. They said, for instance, that they're going to give 200 and something billion naira to technology, use of technology.
Yes.
Yeah, so as civil society groups and analysts, we are watching to see which excuse INEC would have why we won't have technology being used in each of the police stations if you have 200 billion to spend on technology. We are waiting to see which particular procurement in technology they want to do. Because if the Senate, in contradiction, is saying that they are allowed to transmit the result electronically to the EREV, but however, they could resort back to the manual, and whereas that we have used in 2023 to achieve exactly the same thing Senate has passed. Is it that those gadgets are no more functioning? What technological infrastructure are they going to purchase in 2027 that will now justify 200 billion? So all of these questions we are watching out for, and we want to know, because if, for instance, they want to increase the number of beavers, because beavers will solve all the problems that people are talking about technology.
Exactly.
Yes, I've done my research and I realized that beavers solves all the problems. So if they're going to purchase enough beavers to cover probably the 15,000 polling units that they say that you don't have networking at, and then they're probably going to give us backup technology, even in the other 177,000 minus 15,000 polling units that we have, so that we don't have any excuse at all not to use electronic transmission. That's why I say we won't criticize them too early, because they could have come up, if we start criticizing now, to say to you that if they had enough money, they would do this. So when people bring out budget estimates, those are estimates, you ask them to give you breakdown of what exactly, and they said the breakdown was on the other pages, which I haven't seen, but we just saw what was put on the news.
Yeah.
So if you give us breakdown that justifies, then we could say, okay, that's good, but that's quite a bogus amount.
Yes, you mentioned that the nation's economy at the moment is crippling, right? So considering that, do you think we can actually fund, you know, the election with such a whopping sum, about ₦1 trillion? I know you also talked about, you know, I watched in the Senate where Comrade Adams Oshomole, the senator representing Edo non-senatorial district, was questioning that INEC included, you know, as part of the budget that they want to build hospitals. They want to build their own hospital, and he questioned them that, how will you, you know, say you want to build a hospital? Are you operating health sector? So don't you think there's really need for a review?
Yeah, that's what I've just said. You see, that's a good review. I mean, he is privy to the breakdown of the budget because the document was submitted to them for them to approve for passage. So it's still on that stage. The general public is there, civil society, you know, is there. Would all review what you say you are going to spend the money for. For instance, I haven't seen it. I don't know how it was stated. The question about building hospitals. It will make sense to me. If you operate within the ambit of Nigeria, there's hardly any place that you don't have a primary health care. You could also invest heavily on mobile clinics, that is mobile vans, yes. You know, with respect to areas that are very remote and probably don't have a health center within reasonable kilometers from the village. You can use mobile van. It's INEC chairman that will need to justify. You see, reports come back from the field of certain things that had happened. If those reports come, a good planner would factor in those things in the new budget plan. Are you following? So if you are saying don't build hospital, you should be able to say, well, our primary health centers are functioning well. And the federal government, okay, you can take that out and give it to Ministry of Health and say, make sure the primary health centers are functioning well. Because they are thinking of, but what I think they should be doing is to get an ambulance or a mobile clinics. Because what are they expecting? Are they expecting clashes during elections and people getting injured? It's not their responsibility to take care of such casualties. But if their members are going to faint during elections, and then maybe in view, God forbid, in case of accidents on the way in their transportation from one place to another, and they want immediate medical attention, they don't need to start to build hospitals. You can have mobile clinics, you know, in vans that can quickly give you first aid until you arrive at the nearest hospital. If you're sending, you know, reasonable nearest hospital around anywhere in Nigeria. So those are issues that we need to question. It's before them, as the Senate, they need to do due diligence on it. They need to do their job on it. And then ask INEC chairman to justify every kobo that is put in the budget. So you see, when I'm analyzing anything, I analyze in two ways. The objective factor. The objective factor has to do with the fact that INEC is the economy and what INEC has to do. If they have to do a good job and do it very well, don't they need that kind of money? They do, to a point. Because you see, if personnel are not well paid, for instance, they are subject to temptations. So if an organization wants to work well, and then you increase the wages and the earnings of your personnel, it reduces risk of their vulnerability to temptations. Do you understand that? So what the chairman needs to do is to justify the budget and say, look, this because of this, because of that, because of that. What he's unable to justify, you delete from his budget and give him what he's able to justify. That's how all budget estimates are. I would rather that he budgeted well and then give us a true, free, and fair election than come back to tell us that because of lack of funds, they couldn't do this, they couldn't do that. When I read the news item, it said all those other things that they were not putting into consideration in the previous budget have all been captured in this budget. In other words, we're not coming back with any excuses. Whether you need to hire boats to go to the riverine area, whether you need security personnel to pay extra to go to flashpoints, high-risk security area, all of that should have been captured. And when you start to spend money, you realize that sometimes what you think is so big, what you are procuring, we don't know what the costs are, and so forth. So that's what we want to see, that with this kind of huge money before you, you're able to do a thorough election where you reduce hitches, there will always be hitches, to the barest inconsequential minimum. That's what we want to see. So I am not going to, on face value, just criticize the budget.
Okay.
It is when he's not able to justify that money that I'm going to criticize it.
So in time past, where we have conducted elections, so are you trying to say that poor budgeting was part of what caused some of the challenges we faced?
When we review elections, it usually comes up as an excuse at the end of elections that because the budget was not, in fact, that was why they had to review the budgeting process of INEC in the Electoral Act, so that we now anticipate all that they need to cover, and then we ask them to bring a budget at least a year before the election so that they can start working now. So when we did election reviews after elections, this always came up as a recurring decimal, that, you know, the budget was not enough. And I remember that once or twice they have had to ask for supplementary budgets after the initial budget that they gave. So, and then you must also know that our Naira value has fallen beyond every economic metric, because you don't know what those costs of those things are right now. So what we are interested, I mean, that's less than 1 trillion naira.
Yes.
And
873
NNPC was said to have embezzled, I think, about 217 trillion. Individuals in government, some of them have embezzled close to 1 trillion. So if we have a national event like the elections, which is the most important event in any democracy for a nation, and we are using less than 1 trillion, 750 kilometers of road is said to be 15 trillion. And many of these people have stolen more than 1 trillion. So it's really not such a big deal. It's less than 1 trillion. It's 800 and something billion. What if you use that to achieve a good election for us? We're ready to give you over 1 trillion even in the next election. I mean, we are that rich. The problem is not the budget in its objective, what do you call it, situation as it is right now. The problem is whether the intention of giving that money is to direct it to giving us a proper, free and fair election, a credible election with integrity, or whether there is a skewed criminal, corrupt motive, namely that the money will not be spent on the election, but spent to feed corruption. That's where we should be looking at, not the amount. Because if you give even 500 billion, for instance, and you still have to steal from it, you are going to have the same problem as if you gave 800 billion. So what we are looking at, what I'm looking at, and where we are going to be looking at, and where we should all concentrate, is how is this money going to be spent? And that's where oversight becomes so important. I don't want people to come to National Assembly and speak glibly because they want to have their own slice of the cake. And so you begin to punch holes so that you are now factored in. Do you understand that? Yeah, so we don't want to create a cabal of people who don't have the right intention, but posing as if they have the interests of the nation in their hearts. They don't. It is we, the civil society, we, the people of the streets, that must monitor that budget from penny to penny, and then raise alarm when we think that there is corruption, when we think that the money is being embezzled, when we think that the money is not being spent for. We are pushing for technology, and we must not give up on that. Technology will cost money. I have just mentioned Beavers here. Beavers has the capacity to register voters and capture them. It has the capacity to tally figures. It has the capacity to add, to do arithmetic. And it has the capacity to take snapshots of the result sheets and then to add up to tally figures. IREF does not tally figures. IREF is just a viewing portal like television.
Yes.
So you are just seeing your results there. And then you are doing your own calculation. But Beaver does that calculation for you. So now they have successfully moved us away from concentration on beavers. We have the machine already. Beavers operates without network. It's like your handset. I don't need network to feed information into my handset. When network now comes, it automatically uploads. That's what beavers does. So if you feed information into the beavers, the information is already there. At the slightest appearance of network, it will upload automatically. So beavers is the machine that will solve all those problems.
But the Senate is saying that, in fact, that was why they put a clause on the amendment, which was done recently. That's where there is no network.
So that's
should be transmitted
so that's the point.
Manually.
That's the point I'm making, because you see, we are crying ourselves hoarse on that. We are shouting, and as I said on ITV, I think when I went there last week, the Senate has not passed the amendment to the Electoral Act on election, as far as the Nigerian people are concerned. And if we are saying that they have not passed it, they are saying this is our reason, then we now have to show them by research that that problem has been taken care of. Because you cannot be canvassing a position and not making recommendations. The recommendation we are making is that beavers will work for us. Beavers does not need to have immediately network service. And once you have fed it into the beavers, you can't take it off. So whatever has been fed into the beavers, even if we feed it into it here, and we just take a kilometer drive before we get network, as soon as we get network, the machine itself does not need to be operated. It automatically uploads everything that you have put inside. So all we need to do in the places where you don't have network is for the polling agents to all gather around the beavers and ensure that the presiding officer in that particular polling, what do you call it? Polling unit, uploads the results, then captures the picture. So that's why I said they have cleverly swayed us away from beavers. But we have to return back to beavers. We have beavers to cover, because, I mean, if you are not captured, you don't vote.
Yes.
So we have beavers to cover every polling unit and every individual that votes. Now, I'm trying to get my people, the civil society and everybody listening to me, to remember that beavers does the work. So if they say, for instance, the beavers are not enough, or that batteries in the beavers are all dead from 2023, let 800 and something billion purchase more beavers, purchase batteries, and then give extra to everywhere that you can get cover. So that if one for any reason fails, you have alternative power. So alternative power, that's gadget and power. That when I mean power, I mean electronic power to use. So that we completely eliminate. That's what we Nigerians are asking them to pass, is that you must state clearly in the Electoral Act that the discretion of INEC to return to manual voting when the network fails, you must state clearly that that power is taken off them, that there are going to be alternative electronic gadgets or infrastructure to support whatever we have in place. Rather than do that, they now made it a pronouncement that if it fails, INEC should use manual. Now, what then was passed, because that is what was done in 2023. And that was why there was a need to amend that laws. So nothing was passed, actually.
But the question I'm even asking is that now, if you are saying that in cases where we have failure of network and you are asking the umpire to transmit results manually, won't this even give room for manipulation, which they will blame on a failure of network?
So that is exactly why we are against it.
Because
if there was trust, we won't be against it.
Yes, because
if there had been antecedents of integrity, we won't be against it. That's exactly why we are against it. And majority of Nigerians still believe, one of them, that the 2023 election was rigged in favor of the APC and the party in power. And the reason it could be rigged was because of this particular fight that we have in our hands. That officials of INEC, whom we don't trust because of antecedents, now you can't do anything about that. If we don't trust them, we don't trust them. And we have good reasons not to trust them, as I just said, because of antecedents and precedences. So that's why we are saying, give us an objective, what do you call it now, machinery, or an objective system, template, that we can all trust. It's never foolproof. It's not God or spirits. It's also subject to hitches,
Yes.
whatever electronic device that you use. But within the trust level ambit, is 100 times more trusted than if you ask individuals to do it manually. So we want to take what we call the safer risk, is to trust the machines. Why are you against that? Why is Senate against that? And that's the cause for the agitation. The very fact that you are against logic and common reasoning and good judgment is already an admission that you don't have good intention. And then you are likely to manipulate the system in your favor. That's what it means. Anybody, any testimony, there's an Igbo parable by someone, they written in one vehicle. The vehicle passed me, one of these big lorries that goes to the east. I became very fascinated. It was written in Igbo. So I asked somebody, an Igbo guy was, I said, what's the, quote this parable for me. He didn't know, so I wrote it down. So then I went to my sister's place. I have brothers and sisters from all tribes. I said, sister, what's the meaning? She now quoted. You know what it says?
No.
It says, any testimony against the truth, there is cunning in it. Any witness against the truth, there's cunning in it. So if we have presented an alternative template and following logic and sound judgment and reasoning, and you are against it, you have already shown us that you have an intent that is antithetical to good elections. Why is the Senate in such a hurry over such a flashpoint discussion in the country? That is creating agitation, demonstrations and riots and so on. Why not why would the Senate not say, okay, you are the people, democracy belongs to you. Now, what do you want? Tell us. In fact, you can even draft it and bring to us. We will approve for you. Why would Senate not do that? They are not executives. So they cannot begin to talk about leadership and say leadership should take decisions. They are not. They are representatives. So executive can use executive powers if they think that that policy is best for us. But they are representatives. Okay. And so long as they have not represented our wishes, they are not representing us. They are representing themselves. And that invalidates all their mandates. The moment you swore to represent us, not yourself. So when you are no longer representing us, you have invalidated your mandate that took you there.
All right, you know, the 12-man committee set up by the Senate will be meeting with the reps soon to ratify the amendment. So let's just wait to see the outcome. Now, are you of the view that with the budget, the 873 billion naira budget proposal, INEC should be able to, you want the Senate to approve it for INEC to minimize possible challenges that are likely to mar the process?
Yeah. As I said to you earlier, you first of all look at things objectively.
Yes.
That's patriotism. That's hoping that you are dealing with sanity, and then you are dealing with people who want to do things right. If that is the case, I would, without hesitation, say they should approve it. What I am worried about, which Nigerians that are criticizing are worried about, is because of the fact that it is so much money in the hand of INEC. If they don't show cause by showing that they stand with the people for a free and fair election, if they don't show cause, then people are going to suspect that that money was given to meet many other dark, issues that Nigerians are not seeing, which defeats the entire purpose. So I will first of all do what is right, play my part, give you the gadgets, and then that's why we have checks and balances, and then ask the House to scrutinize, the Senate to scrutinize the money that have been given or that have been proposed. If after scrutiny you are able to justify it, give them the money. Whatever they then do after, it is now our own responsibility to watch out for and then hold them responsible. You get the point? It's like the question of police and so on and so forth. The argument is neither here nor there. Oh, police are corrupt, this and that, that and that. If you take the argument objectively, police in Nigeria should be corrupt. Are you following me? They are at the bottom end of any police welfare training, whatever requirements policemen need to operate in any part of the world. So they should be corrupt. If the government first does its own, give them proper training, both psychiatric, psychological, and police training. Kit them up properly so that they have a sense of, what. And then give them the arm and ammunition they need, the arms and ammunition that they need. And then save their egos by not subjecting them to the political class, where a policeman would want to do his police duty, and then somebody will pick a phone and call the commissioner, and then the commissioner would override the policeman and then discourage him from doing his police duty. If you take care of all of this and they are still corrupt, then you can say, oh, the police are corrupt. You get the point? So if an institution says, this is what I need to deliver, take this responsibility for yourself as the Nigerian citizens. Track that budget and monitor it. You will know when it is not spent. And then hold that organization responsible. But don't second guess them. Don't say, oh, they will not spend it. Now, if you say they will not spend it, and you go and oppose, and then they give them far lesser, they have all the excuses. Now, and the point, we have only one point now which we are all converging on. Is INEC going to give us adequate technological infrastructure to ensure that results are all transmitted electronically, almost without the 15,000 units? This money should take care of those units. Whether they want to do business with Starlink, the suggestion have been given to them, the template have been given to them, or they want to rely on beavers, and then whether they want to give extra beavers for support and all of that. These are all the questions we should be asking, and putting our representative under pressure to ensure that all of those safeguards are put in place. If not, then they will have to justify to us what they did or what they are going to do with 800 and something billion.
All right, thank you very much,
Yes.
Comrade Christopher Ojekori.
Thank you.
For your inputs. Now, let's take a look at the election timetable, as proposed by the INEC, 20th of February 2027 for the presidential and National Assembly elections. And, it has been sparking debates, especially in the religious circle, because this date is clashing with the period of Ramadan. As we all know, Ramadan is a holy month in the Islam. So what's your view on this?
Very simple. That particular day, 20th, is going to be about, if you follow the same calendar for this year,
Yes.
it's going to be about, say, maybe a week or so, just a week or so into Ramadan. If you have certain hitches that is national, and everyone in the country, or majority, thinks that we need to give attention to it because it's affecting some very fundamental questions. It's a simple matter of postponement. What is not allowed is that you have matters that will make you extend swearing in for May 29. Because the election is supposed to be 20th. But for certain contingencies like this, which is based on faith, people's belief within a society, which are very strong, cultural, traditional, and spiritual, what do you call it, implications for the people. And you just have like maybe 8 days. Because I think Ramadan is actually going to start February 13th this year. And so,
Ramadan.
yes, this year. The fasting.
Yes.
Is going to start February 13th this year, which is going to be the same thing next year, maybe 14th.
No, next day should be 7th of February.
Of February.
Yes, it
So,
starts for 7th of February.
okay.
And it's ending March
Exactly.
8th.
So between, no, I'm talking about the election. If it starts 7th of February, it would have been 3 weeks into the fast if the election is still going to be 20th of February next year. Did you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
If you use this year as a case study, then I'm looking at the gap between when you start the fast and when election is supposed to come. How many weeks in between? That's what is at issue here. You get the point? So you can shift the election by 2 weeks, by 3 weeks. And say, okay, since Ramadan is going to, let's shift the election. So you shift the election forward.
So if this is not shifted, do you think it will affect voters' turnout? Because
It
we
will.
have millions of Nigerians.
It will affect voters' turnout. It will affect voters' turnout because, you see, people are more devoted and committed to their faith, most cases, than they are to their civic responsibilities. Spiritual comes first for people before the secular. So, and I see no reason why it will hurt to move elections forward with 3 weeks. Do you understand? I mean, so prepare for it. Move it forward. So that's what it's going to be. And then we have elections in January. So that we would have finished our elections before you begin. You say 7th of February for next year. Yes. 7th of February. So you move it to January. I mean, what are you going to do again that you have not done between September 1st when campaigns will start? In fact, when activities will start, activities have just started. Yes. What kind of work and election campaigning, whether mosquito campaign or VAT campaign, are you going to do that 3 weeks will make all the difference? You are starting out from the same point. You are all involved in the same thing. So nobody's getting any, advantage, competitive advantage over the other. It's everybody signing up for the same point. So announce it now that as a result of this, what is at issue is not the Constitution. It's the Electoral Act, which is an act of the National Assembly. So the National Assembly can amend it very easily. They don't even need to amend it. All they need to do is to give a bylaw that covers why we have to do that as a matter of contingency. It can come under, there's what they call something, emergency, blah, blah, blah in the Senate. It can come under it. So nobody has excuse now to protest the election. You get the point? Yeah, so that's my opinion. I don't think that's too much.
But how would this actually affect, polling units, logistics, and security of the election? Today
is probably the just a week away from when we started this race. So all INEC needs to do is to factor in the shift in time and make all the arrangements towards it. And with this kind of big money in hand, you should get results faster. Because what are we talking about here? We're talking about printing sensitive materials.
Yes.
And then the polling is already there. The nation is already delineated. We already have polling units, updating voters' register. All of these are what are required for election. There is no one that is going to be substantially affected by time. Once that we know about that time, a year before, if it was an emergency situation that just came up a month, then you say, oh, we've gone so far in logistical arrangements and so on and so forth. You are not moving any polling. You are not creating new ones. You are not. So all you need to do is print your papers early, mobilize personnel early, train them early, and dispatch them at the proper time.
So what role, should, civil society organizations, political parties, and even the religious,
once it comes to election matter like this, in national election matter, everybody must work together. It no longer don't bother about which party is in power. Take a particular election as your due business. I don't want to say die. Bring every of your arsenal into it and ensure that the right thing is done, the acceptable thing is done, the popular thing is done, and then you won't have complaints. Be a stakeholder in every election. And that's the attitude with which I did my analysis on the budgeting. Let's all collectively begin to track. That's a very big money of our money. Let's all collectively begin to track Amopita now. Track the Senate. See how much they will approve of the budget estimate. Who are they distributing the money to? Who is in charge of printing? Who is in charge of the boxes? Who is in charge of logistics? Who is in charge of mobilization? We begin to track whether the money is being spent. And raise alarm immediately. Blow whistle immediately. We must all get involved in it. That's what every nation does.
So as the election approaches, what's the advice to Nigerians or relevant stakeholders and even the government?
Yeah, you see, the best way to ensure that the right thing is done in any nation is to be, first of all, and this is to the people, an active participant. It is your active participation that will let you know about police preparedness, for instance, and the preparedness of all the other security agents or agencies that will mobilize for the election. If it is being skewed towards a particular party, it is your active participation and vigilance that will make you cry out and raise alarm. Government should be put on their toes by the citizens. Government being put on their toes by the citizens, government must now realize that they are being watched and they will strive to do the right things. Are you following me? So it's a circle, it's holistic, and everybody must realize this. The moment you take the attitude that it is them against us, as I hear some people who I consider to be very unpatriotic saying, don't worry, APC have rigged it, APC will rig it. I mean the very fact that
you don't even trust the process anymore.
Yeah, so the very fact that you don't trust the process, the very fact that you think APC will rig it, it's what should bring out the fire in you. It's what should bring out the patriotism in you to fight for your country, to defend your country and to defend democracy.
All right,
if you think that a thief is going to come to your house, Jesus Christ did not say it in the Bible, that if the good man of the house had known the hour the thief was going to come, he would not have slept. He would have sat down and wait and watch him.
All right, sir, Comrade Christopher Ojekore, thank you very much for your contributions on the program this morning. It's really nice having you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
We hope to have you subsequently.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll be taking a look at INEC's preparedness ahead of the 2027 general elections. They've released timetable and they have also presented a tentative budget proposal of 873 billion naira. Yes, Comrade Christopher Ojekore, the media coordinator of the African Democratic Congress in Edo State, is of the view that the legislators should approve the budget proposal for INEC to, effectively conduct the election. Meanwhile, talking about the election date, which is February 20th, as fixed by the umpire, Comrade Ojekore is suggesting that there is need for them to revisit the date and reschedule it because it is clashing with the Islamic month of Ramadan. And we know we have millions of Nigerians who are Muslims. And if this date is not rescheduled, it's likely to affect voters' turnout. All right. Thank you very much for joining us on the program this morning. You can use the comment section to share your thoughts on the topic of discuss. Yes, what do you think? We want to hear from you. Thank you. Do well to subscribe to this channel. Also turn on notification button to get updates. Join us same time tomorrow on Dawn VOS TV Nigeria. Bye for now. My name is Jude Aweke.